Has anybody heard from Matt Shane's bud, the Yankees GM?
I don't think he has heard from him.
Because I mean, I looked the other day and he had exported fairly recently, so I guess he's still.
I mean, he's out in the field, so he's gonna try to find Wi-Fi wherever he can, out in the trenches.
Yeah, I'm guessing he'll
Wi-Fi
be.
in the trenches.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's start off the AL by going to the AL East. We have Toronto. What's surprising about the Blue Jays, though? Their pitching has been actually decent the last couple months with Edwin Jackson and AJ Burnett. They're two off-season acquisitions. But aside from that, the rest of the rotation, you really can't hang your hat on really anyone. I know I recommended calling up Brandon Morrow for a couple starts, and he's doing pretty decent. 5 ERA and 6 starts, so I bet that's helping him a little bit. Yeah, and Store is the same with the Blue Jays. Their offense are gonna hit bombs every game.
I mean, have you seen their home run totals? It's unreal. They've got 5 guys with double-digit homers and another one with 8. I mean, their offense is ridiculous.
And then you have Adam Lynn, their second first baseman. He hit 18 last year, and he's just squandering away in AAA. And not to James' detriment or fault or anything. I guess there just isn't any space for him. But he could be a pretty decent pickup for someone who's looking for a first baseman down the road. He's just wasting away in AAA, I guess.
It would be an interesting move. He's almost 31, so he's not a guy that you're going to center around prospect-wise. He's not great defensively, but like you said, I think another AL team that needs a big left-handed bat, that'd be a good pickup.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why he's not playing first base or even DH is James' decision to go with Anthony Gose in center field, which I really, really like. I want to really go into this because looking at Gose, he's playing exceptional defense in center field. Yeah, the guy that he's replacing who played center field last year was Kobe Rasmus, who's playing pretty much everyday DH right now. His rating in center field is probably the reason why he's DHing. Even though Gose isn't really hitting 250, I guess, for a leadoff hitter, his defense really speaks for itself.
They don't really need him to really hit a whole lot. But if they can get their pitching staff kind of leveled out and get a little bit more consistency with that offense, they're going to be. I mean, they're already 11 games over 500. You know, that's going to be a tough team in September.
Yeah, I can see them getting an arm or two. They have a clear agenda, so it's not easy, but clear for James on what he needs to do, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Rays. Rays have been, I guess, the total opposite. They've got very good pitching and very wishy-washy offense. Let's see, their first 4 starters are David Price, Matt Moore, Hellickson, and Odorizzi. They've pretty much been the rock of that rotation up to this point. But their only problem is they cannot find a consistent number 5 man, I guess, to take over that last spot in the rotation.
Well, I guess it's been so bad he's not even going to run one out there.
Yeah, they've been mixing it up with guys like they got a couple guys in AAA, Annie Romero and Alex Colme and Chris Archer, all rookies, but really haven't shown any kind of consistency that you would want in a major leaguer. So I guess he's choosing to let them spend a little bit more time in AAA. So.
I would like to see what. Is it Colome or Colome? I would like to see what he can do. And I mean, he's sitting there 5-0 with a 1.66 ERA at AAA. I mean, at this point in time, what is there to lose? You know, he's 25, so it's not like he's 20 years old and he might really hurt his growth. I mean, but I think that would be somebody I might call up and just see if you find lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Speaking of call-ups, call up Vincent Belnome to take over first base for James Loney, who went down to AAA. I guess Loney could be moved too.
Yeah, he's a guy that you could look at somebody who either had an injury at first or maybe just wants that off the bench bat. You know, he could be serviceable.
Yeah, and to that depth that they have, you know, Ryan, he spoke to me about having depth especially in the middle infield, after calling up their defensive stud, Hak-Ju Lee. So that pretty much pushed Yunel Escobar to a bench spot right now. And I'm not sure if Ryan wants to move him or not, but it could make a pretty good asset for someone who's looking for a middle infielder.
I think he's somebody that's being, I'm not saying he's actively being shopped, but I think he's somebody that could easily be had in the right deal. I know he's wanting, he's needing that fifth starter, so I know he's searching for that. And he's got the prospects, he's got the, he's got the extra talent like Escobar to kind of package in a deal for a. It doesn't have to be a fifth starter. I mean, he could go out and get a bona fide ace if he really wanted to and slide everybody down a slot. So.
Yeah, I hope Steve is listening. No, rub on wood. Because Steve, we'll get into it later, but Steve desperately needs a shortstop.
Well, I think he can join the crowd because I've tried everything.
Yeah. And just one final note on the Rays here. I was in this deal following the blowout of the Desmond Jennings deal. I guess it took a lot of courage from Ryan's part to push Kes Carter into an everyday center field role, but it hasn't been working to plan so far. He's hitting .222, playing every day in center field. On the other side of things, I wish Desmond Jennings was still there with him, but he's probably going to have to look for at least a backup center fielder to platoon with Kes Carter in center field, because I can't see him playing every day. Continuing playing every day like this. So.
No, I mean, when your outfield, I mean, Will Myers is hitting .332, but your outfield is combined for 13 home runs. That's tough to do and win in the American League.
Yeah.
But I'd say another weakness of his, I know we need to move on, but another weakness is that bullpen. Outside of Fernando Rodney, it's been pretty rough for him. So
yeah, one of his really big deal was signing Grant Belfort to a 3-year deal. 6 ERA right now. So.
Yeah, and I was actually a guy that I was going after, but he wanted a little bit more than I was willing to give him. So he gave him 2 guaranteed years with a 3rd-year option. So
yeah, I remember that.
That's tough for Tampa Bay and their salary to have to, you pretty much almost got to make every move count. So maybe he'll bounce back for him and have a strong rest of the first half and into the second half.
Speaking of making every move count, let's talk about the Orioles, and we talked about earlier, but getting Darren Ruff and Jonathan Pettibone. They're 2 of the few bright spots on that team right now.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that. Well, let's start with the worst. Worst thing is they have the league's worst defense. Where do we start with this? Darren Ruff is playing left field. I mean, for all that he does with his bat, I don't even think he belongs on the field. But to take him off the field, that would mean playing someone like Mike Morse in left field. So I guess that's the trade-off you'd rather not make. So I guess his hands are tied there. But another spot that you see him kind of shooting himself in the foot defensively is Dan Uggla in second base. So Dan Uggla came on board pretty late, right?
Yeah, he was one of the amnesty guys.
And I mean, your offense. Where is he ranked with his offense? He's pretty much second in home runs. So from getting like 15 home runs from Ruff and 11 home runs from Adam Jones. So what exactly are you looking for in Uggla that he can bring that's going to make your team better? I'm sorry, but he's hitting .256 with 7 home runs.
It seems like to me, Joe really looks for power. Some guys look for on base, some guys look for defense, some guys look for, and it seems like, I mean, if you look at his team, I know the numbers aren't necessarily there, but I mean, you take Markakis doesn't have a lot of power this year, but you take a Jones, a Ruff, a Davis, a Wieters, a Morse, an Uggla. Those are power type, bats. So
I guess that's been his formula so far.
So far it hasn't worked, but the one thing I will say about the Orioles is they have a lot of guys that they could move for prospects. They could really build this team for the future in just one season at a trade deadline.
Who's one guy that you think is going to move, or a couple guys you think could be moving?
I think he'll move Markakis. I like Markakis, I really do. I think that'll be a guy. He's in the last year of his contract. Well, last guarantee, he's got a 17.5 team option next year. Now, I mean, I don't think anybody would pick that up. but I think he was probably going to be the main one that will be moved, and I think that'll bring a pretty good return. But outside of that, I would say another shortstop. You was talking about for Steve, J.J. Hardy could potentially be a guy that
Yeah.
could fill a stopgap. You know, me and Steve both have our shortstops of the future, so we don't necessarily want to, you know,
Yeah,
trade
you're
for a
looking for
guy
some kind
that's
of stopgap guy for a couple months or half a
exactly. I
year.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, for a contender team or something like that, I think Hardy would make a lot of sense. But
Yeah,
he's got a few guys that you could move that would really build that farm system back up.
yeah, maybe even Josh Johnson, maybe, but if someone's brave enough to take on that contract, he has a lot of talent. That
That's a lot of money.
good luck to Joe going forward, I guess. Whether you want him, whether he's deciding to pretty much give up or not, but I mean, does he have the worst record in the league?
No,
Astros?
he does not. Our Kansas City, our Paul Goldschmidt's newest team actually has the worst record. And Luke, we're not picking on you. We're really not. So
And that's some hope for Joe. But yes. Well, let's just move right on into KC right now, since we reached this point. So, Goldie trade. Who went to them? They got, or who they gave up away. I'm sorry, they gave up Bubba Starling, center fielder,
yep.
a 28th guy on top 100 prospect. They also gave up right-hander Giordano Ventura, young kid who can throw, I guess, 99 in real life at least. He's 83rd on the top 100 list. So two very high-ranking guys depleted from his system in this trade.
And I mean, I like Goldschmidt. I think he's a big time, but personally, I'm not sure there was that big of a need there to give up those prospects.
Yeah, let's talk about Let's see the logjam that he has right now. Right now, before Goldschmidt, he had Eric Hosmer playing first, and Billy Butler DHing, and now with Goldie on board, is he gonna DH or is he playing first base? Do you think?
Well, he's got him playing first with Hosmer DHing, but here's my thing: Goldschmidt's only slightly,
Yes.
I mean, marginally better defensively than Hosmer.
Yeah, very marginal. We're not talking about like a huge jump from like a Gold Glover type who needs to play first base and shuttling Hosmer to DH. But I guess it's either or really. You can't really help or hurt.
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious Billy he's going to be the odd man out.
Yeah.
But my thing is Billy Butler is he's a solid DH. I mean, to me, those prospects would have been better off going after a pitcher.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you think about where those pieces could have gone to maybe help another area, like pitching, as you say, or even mid infield, where they have Gordon Beckham hitting like 200.
He's not even hitting his weight.
Okay.
Well, see, here's the thing: you got your two corners in Hosmer and Moustakas. I mean, they're both having tremendous years.
Yeah.
You build around them. Maybe you go get a big time right fielder, or you go get a big time arm. I just personally think it was a big move. It was what I would call it was probably this. I would say outside of, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I mean outside of the Chris Sale deal, I'd say it's the biggest trade in the league this year.
Well, in season. Yours was off season, so we can make that distinction.
Yeah, and I mean, I just personally, just my eyes, I mean, Luke has his reasons and Mike had his reasons for making the deal, but I just think it would have been more efficient to go after another position or another, arm. But hey, maybe it'll work out for him.
Do you personally see Billy Butler changing teams?
Oh yeah, I mean, where are you going to play him? He's not going to field anywhere. I mean, he's terrible at first base. His infield range, I mean, he might as well sit in a recliner. He's not going to move anymore. He's an American League player. He's a DH, so I don't see any room for him on the Royals now. To me, you got to move him.
Yeah. Last year of his contract too, right? So it's not shouldn't be too hard, I guess.
Well, he's got a team option of 12.5 next year with $1 million buyout. So I mean, that's guaranteed to be bought out. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
so I think you can move him because you're not going to get anything else for him if you keep him next year. You're going to have to eat a lot of salary. So to me, you almost have to move him before the trade deadline.
So that's his biggest goal now, I guess, after making that deal. All right, let's talk Steve and his Tigers. With this middle infield issue that Steve is going through right now. So he has a revolving door of pretty much 6, 7 guys now who cannot hit over 200. I guess the best guy in that group is I think Tony Thomas or no, this Rule 5 pickup, Matt Serta. One of them.
Tony Thomas is playing second. He's hitting 220 right now.
Then their shortstop, his double play partner, is newly called up Brandon Loy, who's hitting 100. So Steve has tried out pretty much all the options that he has. What I don't understand is why he hasn't intended to just trade for someone, like you said, for a couple months until his really big asset in Javier Baez can get called up.
I mean, it's interesting, but I guess at the same time, too, you kind of need that other trade partner. I don't think I think it's only been a few weeks, if that, and that Tampa Bay's been willing to. I think Escobar's always been movable, but I don't think he was as movable as he is now. Hardy, I think, was definitely a guy that's, I think he's on the market now, but I don't think that was too long before being made a decision.
Can we play matchmaker or no time?
Well, I mean,
we'll let Steve figure it out, I guess.
I mean, I think one of those two guys would make a lot of sense for the Tigers. I really do. I mean, they're obviously by default they're going to get a massive bat, like making a huge trade by the deadline when Miggy comes back. If he comes back, you're going to plug him into the lineup. Now, is he a great third baseman? No.
Yeah, he's going to be at third because he has Victor Martinez at first.
Well, he's still got Prince. He's got Prince in there too. So I mean, but you're going to add that big time right. So I mean, I don't think offense is going to be as big. So, maybe he just kind of worries about defense. He needs a leadoff hitter, so that might be something else to look at. But I mean, to me, Hardy makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if he would cost quite as much as Escobar, but at the same time, either one of those guys, you plug them in there, you get Miggy back, they've got a shot.
Yeah, just to give Steve some credit here, I mean, on the pitching side, I think late last season when none of us were really here, he snagged Danny Duffy and Chris Tillman off the free agent market on minor league deals, and right now Duffy's in his rotation, pitching really, really well. 3.81 ERA and 7 starts, and Tillman is his new closer with 11 saves and 4.33 ERA. So credit where it's deserved.
Yeah, those two moves, and then the Marlins 2 moves that we talked about earlier. Those were 2 of the best underrated pickups in the that we've seen so far. But somebody had to take. I got to throw this out there, Steve. Somebody had to take Scherzer's spot.
Well, he didn't. Well, okay, I'm not going to go there. Well, let's go to the Indians.
Well, they lost Masterson. He's out. He's out for the year. He's not the greatest. What I would call, he's not the quote unquote ace, but that still hurts your depth.
Yeah, and then Corey Kluber is also out for 6 weeks with a shoulder inflammation.
Yeah. So I mean, he's battled some injuries, some key injuries. His arms have been pretty solid, though. I mean, overall, I think he's
second in the league in starters ERA. I didn't realize it.
And I think if he could have 14 starting pitchers, I think Max would go with 14 starting pitchers.
Well, he's tried 6, so you can do 7. You can do it.
But I mean, he might need another bat. I don't know where you would plug him, but maybe maybe in left field. Kipnis, he's shown some power, but I guess
First
maybe
base, I think.
yeah, first base. Yeah, he could probably use a first baseman.
Yeah, because he has Carlos Santana shut him off. Well, he just served a little minor league stint in AAA, simply
Yeah.
because he stunk it up way too much, and he recently got called up again. So
Yeah,
maybe
I mean
he'll pick it up.
he hit 268 last year with 22 bombs, so this was definitely not something anybody foresaw. So he's kind of BJ Upton the Cleveland Indians this year.
Maybe try him at first. I mean, because Michael Young right now is playing every day, I think.
Well, and he is
semi-regularly.
defensively. He's gonna butcher first base. So I think if he's still in it, that's probably where you're gonna see to try to.
Yeah,
he tries to add us somebody. I don't even know what first baseman would be available, but that would be somewhere he would probably look.
Yeah, that move was good for for maybe having Young playing 2-3 times a week off the bench at DH, but not every day like this.
No,
I think it's really hurting your teams.
But and kind of talking about the Central as a whole, I mean, your leaders are 3 games under 500. I mean, I think the Detroit. I think if they can get Miggy back and get some other things rolling, I think they could end up, getting rolling. But until that happens, I mean, one move may be enough to take you from last place to first place. I mean, talking about Kansas City, they're 13 games under 500 and only 5 games out of first place. So,
dream is still there.
I guess that's where the Goldschmidt move comes in, but still it goes back toward maybe you go out there and get some other player, but hey.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the Central by discussing the White Sox.
Jess, I'm glad he is back.
Welcome back,
Jess. He was missed.
Yeah, his team playing relatively well without him at the helm. I guess.
Hey, maybe there's a reason for that. Wink, wink.
Yeah, Alex Rios himself will be back in a couple weeks, so he's gonna get a shot in the arm with that. But his replacement, Blake Teacott, hasn't been doing too bad himself. Probably their top 5 hitter in that lineup, leading off.
Oh yeah. You can get, if you get Rios back in right, leave Cody in left, and then kind of have Danks playing center field. I mean, that's a pretty serviceable outfield if all things stay. Viciedo has been absolutely at the plate. He has been absolutely awesome.
What that moves will make up open the door to is I think releasing Adam Dunn maybe.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been writing on the wall for a while now. I mean, he's hitting a $180.
180, 1 home run.
He's in the last year of his contract. I mean, he would probably love to trade him and get something for him, but I think the only way you can see that is if he takes on somebody else's big contract or something. So,
yeah. I mean, props to Jess, who shown, I guess, the willingness to even try him out a couple months, but I guess that's as far as that can go. When your hand is forced like this, and bringing Rios back and having nowhere else to leave him on the roster except to make a move.
Yeah, but I mean, his team as a whole, it's not bad. He's got Jeff Keppinger has been pretty solid at third base, So I think if he can grab another bat, improvement in center field, he's got a shot.
You think he's going to trade Jake Peavy?
And see, right now that's going to be tough to do when I know they're 3 games under 500, but can you really pull that trigger on trading Peavy right now when you're at the top of the division?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody you can really plug in.
His best starter.
Exactly.
The wrecked Jake Peavy.
I mean, I guess you could say, well, maybe we can throw Trevor Rosenthal in there, kind of slide everybody up, but Trevor hasn't been very good this year, especially as a starter. He's really struggled. So.
Yeah, Rosenthal lost his. It looks like he lost his rotation spot.
Yeah, he did.
Back in the bullpen now.
Waka's really turned it around. I'm glad to see that for Jess. As much as I gave up, and I mean, it was a big deal. I'm still glad to see some of the guys that I dealt, are really playing well for him. Colton Wong's done pretty well. So.
Yeah. Well, Well, Rosenthal is a closer in real life, Jess, so maybe, just maybe, that'll work out for you.
Yeah, once you trade me, Addison Reed, I know he struggled. He's in the
Maybe you can have
doghouse.
him. He's like 6 blown saves, I think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, Jess.
All right. I'm sure he'll listen. All right, let's go to the West. We'll talk Rangers for a little bit. Rangers, they've been losing some steam, I think. No longer second, trailing behind the red hot or forever hot Angels. They're in third place now, I think, or fourth place. I'm sorry, almost one game under 500 and 11 and a half games back. They're kind of stumbling as of late. One of the big reasons for that, I think Chris said, is Beltre not even near where he should be hitting. He's hitting ninth, I think 250. So getting very little, 230, I think, getting very little production from out of your third base spot. And right in the middle, he has Nelson Cruz and Ian Kinsler, the new first baseman. He does have some thump in that lineup right there. So maybe Beltre change teams, maybe
It's
if things
possible.
doesn't work out.
It's possible. He would be a guy that you could move depending on, if you were selling or whatnot.
Because he has Mike Oates, the 25-year-old third baseman,
Yeah, I
possibly
mean,
ready.
you could move him for a couple of bullpen arms, or just because the only reason I say you're not going to get a whole lot for him is, I mean, he's owed $18 million next year, so if you're not willing to eat a chunk of that salary, you're not going to get a lot in return.
Yeah, you'll need a believer in him to unload him to someone else. So.
But one guy I would like to talk about is Kellen Deglin.
Oh yeah.
That guy has been, I mean, he's great defensively behind the plate, but you add his bat in there, he's hitting 289, drove in 20. I mean, I don't think I don't know that I would have him in the cleanup hole, but hey, he's doing pretty doggone well.
Yeah, I think he deserves it. With a 26 rating contact and hitting 290, I guess you can't ask for much better.
No, you really can't. So, hey, he found the diamond in the rough. Maybe he can ride it out the whole season. You never know. Maybe the guys were wrong at scouting him. So,
well, another diamond in the rough that he has is Sean Hill, the 33-year-old right-hander that he's just signed to a minor league deal. Hill, I think, has a 3.62 ERA in 4 starts, so doing really, really well. And also Alexi Ogando making his first ever major league start this season, I think. Went 7 strong innings the other night.
Assistant GM Richie Ho might have had something to do with that.
Hey, I petitioned for that, and why not? I mean, he has a really, really, really strong bullpen, so maybe offset some of that talent in bullpen and help your rotation.
Hey, I mean, it's working so far. I mean, he's sitting, and this is the thing about the AL West is just brutal. I mean, the Angels are pretty much destroying everybody. You're 3 games over 500. You're 9 games out, and we're the week into June. That's just unfathomable to me. So I mean,
I'm trying to think of what needs to happen to them for them to even slow down, because they lost Eric Ibar for pretty much the whole year. Then Taylor Lindsay, their everyday shortstop, he's out for 5 weeks, and 3 arms from their bullpen out for an extended period of time. So what else do you? What else needs to happen for them to even lose steam?
I mean, it's going to be rough for everybody, but that offense is from top to bottom. It's pretty stout. Like you said, I mean, they got Howie Kendrick playing shortstop. I would have left him at second base. That way you're not weakening 2 positions. And maybe you go after kind of 2 of the names we've already hashed on. Maybe you go after J.J. Hardy or Escobar. And leave Kendrick back at second base. But, hey, I can't argue with what he's doing. I mean, he's won twice as many as he's lost, so he's doing something right.
guess you can't. Well, I can't argue with the first in the league in defensive ratings, or defensive efficiency. So,
which is amazing.
Yeah, even with Kendrick at shortstop. So I don't know what this game is doing.
And not even that. And I don't know how many games he's played, but like right now he's got Josh Hamilton in center.
Yeah, this is just unfair. I mean,
I think he's toying with us. I think he's just simply toying with everybody.
Come on. I mean, I'm sitting here maybe spending every night doing my lineup, like maybe half an hour every night, just toggling stuff, and you got Howie Kendrick playing out of position, and he's first in the league in defensive efficiency. What the?
Well, here's an amazing stat too. If you look at their rotation, they don't strike out hardly anybody, so they have to be strong defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, their top strikeout guy, Jared Weaver, has 71 in 86 innings. I mean, that's not that great. So there's a lot of balls being put in play that they're going to have to make plays on. So, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I guess Mike Trout is making all the catches. Infield, outfield, catcher. He's playing everywhere, I guess.
He's a stud. When your contact potential is 110, it's just ridiculous.
Jesus Christ.
We'll just finish up a few teams of the West. Houston, I think we all know Houston's rebuilding. Tanaka's
they don't have the worst record.
No, they don't, but they're in the worst division to possibly be in. So even though you say, yeah, their record's not the worst, but they're playing 4 teams that are 500 or better in their division. So that's going to be tough to overcome this year.
You brought up Masahiro Tanaka.
Yeah, he's been solid. I mean, he's not been, quote-unquote amazing, but he's been pretty good.
Good enough to be their ace. So you think that even despite all the struggle, do you think he's going to continue staying with the team? Or do you think the other Charles, is going to get desperate here and try to...
No, I don't know their finances. I don't know, what their yearly budget is, but you're talking $19 million a year tied into Tanaka.
Well, apparently he had enough money to sign him in the first place. So.
He did, but that's going to really limit your holes elsewhere. You're going to really have to rely on young guys, prospects, and, So, I mean, if he's got it, great, go for it. But that's a lot of money to have invested in one player when you're not the Dodgers or the Yankees or, somebody like that.
I think it'll be in his best interest to maybe try to market him just for a little bit, just to see what kind of return he'll get.
Well, here's the thing: he has nothing to lose. You market him, see who bites. Now, if I'm shipping, I'm saying, look, I'm going to have to get the best possible, and I'm not eating $1 of this salary. So you're taking the salary, and you're going to send me something great back in return. If you get it, great. But I don't think he's at the point where he has to.
There are desperate teams out there. Mainly me speaking.
Are you trying to get into Tanaka sweepstakes if they open up?
We'll get any ace we can. Let it be known right now.
Hey, Rich Harden's available. He was a one-time ace if you're talking about past tense.
Put that up as a good minor league deal too.
Hey, he's filled in. I don't expect him to be nothing great, but he's an arm. And then just kind of wrapping up the West, you got Oakland and Seattle. Oakland has been Cocos Crisp and Cespedes pretty much. I think they've been on the DL almost as much as they've played. Yeah,
they're tag teaming. I mean, when one of them goes on the DL, the other one has to join. So.
I mean, he needs another starter. Sonny Gray he's been solid, I guess, in the minors, but he pretty much got rocked his first outing. So I don't know if he's...
Just imagine where he'd be right now without that trade with you for Jaime Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, he's really worked out for him. I mean, Jaime would... I chose to move Jaime instead of somebody like a Lance Lynn, which, based on the numbers, kind of looks like a bad decision. But I still think Lance will turn it around. But, yeah, Jaime's done pretty well, especially in that division. I mean, that is a ridiculous division.
Yeah, great ballpark pitching, too.
That is very true. So, they're still right there. I mean, if you look at the wild card, I mean they're right there. So you can't say the division's over, but I mean it's going to take a lot for the Angels to lose it. The Angels, I think, would have to lose the division more than anybody winning the division. And then Seattle, you know, they made that big offseason acquisition of Robinson Cano, who so far, I mean, he's paying off. I think toward the end of that contract, it's going to be very, very bad because it's a backloaded contract. But hey, he's MVP style right now, so it's working out for him.
Where will we all be by the end of that contract? Just realistically and philosophically.
Hey, that's true. But hey, you never know.
Hey,
we may still be in this thing. I know there's some leagues out there that have been going on 10, 11 years. So.
Yeah, just putting it out there, Max. Like, where will I or you or anyone be?
Well, I think
4 or 5 years down the road?
Max will be about 40 then. You know, he's getting old.
He's gonna get back into wrestling and try to take over Canada.
Is there a senior circuit wrestling? I hadn't even checked. Have you been watching the live sim at all? I haven't even looked at it tonight. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hopefully my team didn't lay an egg while we were sitting here talking.
Well, let's wrap it up. Do you have any final words as far as?
No, it'll be interesting. I mean, we've got about 6 or 7 weeks before the trade deadline. There's still a lot of teams in it. We'll know a lot more in a few weeks. It'll be interesting who becomes sellers, who becomes buyers, who becomes available.
While we're still here, let's pass around the idea that just right before the deadline, let's have some kind of summit or something, kind of a GM's meeting over chat or whatever.
Well, I talked to Max about that last night, and I kind of asked him how he wanted to handle it, and he said that he would try his best to have a chat at least for a couple hours before the deadline. I know with Cy and Nigel that'll be, you know, a little bit more difficult, but I think it would be good just to get. I mean, like I've never met or talked to the Boston GM.
I don't think he exists. So.
And then I see Minnesota every once in a while. He's on there every once in a while.
I mean, just 20 teams show up. I mean, that's beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we can easily have that because I think we got 20 active GMs without issues. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what moves are made, who overpays, who decides not to make the John Smoltz deal, you know, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we can pull it off. It's going to be a really, really fun deadline. So
I agree.
I'm going to look forward to that. Well, that concludes this episode of the MMB show, recapping the second week of June. Big thanks to Charles Fountain for taking the time and helping me direct the show. Hopefully we'll get in a few more episodes right before the trading deadline occurs. So if you have been, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.